Thank you so much for coming on. So, for people who don't know who are you and what do you do?
Who am I? I am Tabitha, Dreaming Tabitha, the artist on YouTube or an artist on YouTube. And that's pretty much what I do is as I create artwork. I've been on YouTube for several years now, but only really kind of finding my way through and kind of finding a pattern. And of course, because YouTube is ever changing and evolving, I'm trying out new patterns that start out successful and then just kind of go downhill. But yeah, I draw, I paint, I try all kinds of different mediums. I've tried sculpting and everything like that, but primarily I've fallen into the booby trap that is digital artwork. And I really love the convenience and the no mess of it. But I will say it still does not hold a candle to traditional fine art. Just there's something about actually feeling all of the materials when you're creating that does make quite the bond when it comes to creating artwork. But I love it. And I've been creating some fun little like I've tried my hand at like little comic strips of my gaming streams that I do with some of my friends. And right now, the real Joe Rosie and I are working our way through Split Fiction. And we've had some interesting adventures. Joe has admitted that she's terrible with these platform games, and it showcases very nicely. And it's just been really fun because what's interesting with little comic strips too is that you have to kind of reconfigure the story in
Mhm.
order for it to fit, within a certain, if you will, sheet of paper. And you kind of have to rearrange things, exaggerate things, maybe speed up the time frame, and composition's a huge part of it. So it's been a really fun journey to figure out how to simplify a moment.
Mhm.
Basically, how to simplify a moment for one page, if you will. So that's just really been fun. Over on my channel, though, I do live streams and I try to have the chat involved in creating. I have this giant book that one of my subscribers gave to me, and we were creating fantasy creatures together on live streams. And then I do some trying my hand at pre-recorded videos again. I was doing some art channel challenges, and I really enjoy those, but I've also been trying to branch out, and I've been doing some basically backstories to popular franchises while I create artwork in the background and doing like the history of Cinderella. I just recently did one for Mission Impossible and Ballerina, the John Wick saga. So it's just been fun.
Very cool. So I have
Yeah.
your Etsy pulled up. I'm not sure how recent is that kind of stuff. But do you want me to pull that? I'll pull it up and then unless you want me to, show something else.
It's I mean, I don't know if you have like my Instagram or something like that,
Okay.
but like these are some of my these are all hand drawn. These are the
Mhm.
ones I am actively working towards switching from Etsy to a different platform, but Etsy
Mhm.
is still available right now because Etsy sucks right now because of all of its changes, and especially with the rising of AI, it's definitely moved the creative sphere into something
Mhm.
completely different than what Etsy used to be. But all of these are hand drawn, and this was before I got into digital artwork. So yeah, they're all hand drawn, hand colored, and I print them out and send them out and everything like that. It's been really great. I fell into chibis. I was never really a chibi person. Obviously, I thought they were cute, but like
Mhm.
my goal in life was to be an extraordinary painter, and I've always been a creative person. I love writing stories, and the ultimate goal was ever since I was 11 years old was that I wanted to write books, write stories, and then do the artwork for them. And that is actually right now what I'm actively doing. And all of
Mhm.
my creations that I'm working on have basically been practice sessions to lead me up to where I want to be. And so I started drawing cheap. I fell into it. I don't even remember how I started. I just figured I'd give it a go, and honestly, I just fell in love with it, and it just kinda goes to show that, excuse me, doing something different can be very beneficial for you, and it also, takes you out your comfort zone and can lead you to where you need to be, and sometimes where you need to be is not where you thought you would be.
Yeah, like, for me, I don't typically draw chibis, but, like, sometimes it's just fun. It's like, because drawing chibis, you're basically simplifying the character,
Yeah,
and, like, what do you want, like, if you're gonna simplify something, like, if it's, like, a person's face or something like that, like, what do you want to keep there to make
the
sure
key
that it's still
features,
yeah,
yeah.
it's sort of the same thing as when you're doing caricatures. Like I used to do a little bit caricatures for fun. I have a friend who actually does caricatures like as a job. Like
Okay.
he did it for when he worked at Knott's Berry Farm, and I believe right now he also does it
Oh,
for,
wow.
if I'm not mistaken, he's a contractor for Disney. He works at Disney California Adventure. So like he does all of that, and he's amazing at it. It's sort of, so when he does it for people, like he sort of finding
Mhm.
what are the key features
Yeah.
to sort of highlight, right? And so for me, it's like the small eyes, the big ears, the yellow skin, right? So if it's it really depends on how you can go very, very bad with it. It's like if
Yeah.
a person looks really awful, you can make it like there's this person, I think there's like a lady or a person that like purposely does something in what's it called again? Caricature wise, like that makes them look extremely terrible looking. But yeah, so I have your Instagram pulled up, and I'm gonna just like sort of go through it. But yeah,
It
so
has a
here's
couple of newer things,
mhm.
and yeah, obviously that one with that little, the little Gorgon was what we did recently. That's
Yeah.
not my best work. That's just basically on the fly.
How are you
I don't
liking digital
remember.
art compared to like physical medium though? Like how's your I guess you would say uh I guess you was I hate that word, but like transition to
No, I get you. No, no, I mean, at first it was really difficult because everything feels weird. It feels off.
mhm,
The weight of the Apple Pencil is different from a traditional pencil. The glass surface of the iPad is so frustrating because it's just slides. I
mhm,
still haven't gotten the proper like layer that you can get over top of it that kind of makes it feel like paper. I'd like to invest in that because it does. It
Oh,
just kind of slides off, and so you need a little bit extra control. So definitely developing new kind of muscles, but it took a long time because, when you've got your pencils and everything and your markers in front of you, you just reach for them and you grab. With this one, you kind of have to search until you find the right pen, and then you've got to
mhm,
adjust the tapering and all that kind of stuff. And so, it was kind of frustrating at first, and so I really just was obstinate and just decided to stick with traditional, and then I started traveling, but I didn't I have, like, a shelf with probably 200 markers, and I'm like, "That's just my markers, not even my coloring pencils," and it's
mhm.
like, I can't take that with me. So it was nice. It's nice to be able to transition to the iPad is what I use Procreate
Yeah.
on my iPad, and, it was difficult, but, there's no progress, there's no growth without a little bit of suffering.
Yeah, I remember the first time when I transitioned to digital art where I got my first like Intuos 3, like the small gray one that my like I guess my instructor sold it to me for like $50 back in the day.
Oh.
And it's like the drawing space is like literally it's like this big.
Like
So
drawing on your phone?
yeah, it's awful. And so I know some people like they would tape a piece of paper over it, so it feels like you're drawing. There's some
Yeah.
kind of like graphite, and of course you can switch out the
Mhm.
nibs, right? Like this is like
Yeah, I
the
haven't
in
done that either.
this
As
is like
much
the
as I
Intuos
complain
one.
about it, I don't haven't made changes.
Yeah, this is like the Intuos one. You can switch out the nibs
Oh,
to make it feel a
yeah.
little bit more graphitey. But the thing is that it
Mhm.
will never feel like it's sort of like it feels you feel very grounded when you're
Mhm.
using pen and
Yes.
paper or pencil and paper, right?
Mhm.
Or but you or even using like Copic markers or something like that,
Yes,
like knowing
yes.
how much pressure to put.
Mhm.
But now working in digital art, I think it's just I love going back. It sort of just feels like uh
It's
it's
relaxing or
it is.
therapeutic or there's something I think it's like it's just the familiarity is reassuring and comforting.
Yes. Yes, it is, and, I think that's the reason why, but I do love digital art is because, like, infinite colors,
Yeah.
infinite undos, like but I think that's what I love about because when I usually draw, I draw with a pen,
Okay.
and, the reason why is because it's extremely punishing. So, you gotta or, if you could draw with marker or whatever, right? So, like,
Mhm.
you really have to think about your strokes,
Yeah.
like, if if you're gonna, draw something, if you mess up, you mess up. It's there.
There's no undo, yeah.
Yeah, so, I think that's what I really, really enjoy about it. But yeah, this is great work. I'm gonna continue scrolling down on your stuff. This is
The
awesome.
more recent stuff, like, if you go back up to the
Oh,
after the Gorgon, that would be,
this one?
my more no, down one?
This one.
Yeah, those are my more recent what I've started learning to do
Okay.
with,
oh,
yeah. So I'm really happy with that one. Like I said, kind of creating these little comics and just kind of learning
Mhm.
I'm very much a blender, so that was the other thing too. I'm trying a new art style with kinda just the cell shading. Again, just I'm not a simple kind of person. I love
Mhm.
extravagance when it comes to artwork. I love blending, the more colors, the more all of it, the textures, everything. I want it all. But sometimes learning to tone it back and just like with the skin color, I really right now I'm just using two colors when I'm creating my
Mhm.
characters. The hair, I'm just using two colors unless it's, including the outline. And that's difficult for my brain to comprehend, but I'm basically training it to say, "Hey, you can get a lot accomplished with very little."
Yes.
And just like you were saying, it's like finding what the fun it was so fun creating like Sevi's character there because it's like, yeah, what do you pick? Because chibis all pretty much look the same. How do you make each character look individual to the person you're trying to create? So she has a very distinct nose, and I typically go for eyebrows and eye shapes. Like that's usually where I go because everybody's got a certain kind of style. But she
Mhm.
has like the certain kind of hair color, the eyebrows, the eye shape, and the nose, and same thing kind of like with Nobi. And so that's kind of what I went for. But yeah, it's something new. I'm having fun.
Yeah, like for the character, your male character over here with the hat.
Oh,
If
yeah.
if you check out like it's a good way for you to actually do this is because that's what they do in animation.
Mm,
At least for American animation, it's usually they draw the character and they paint bucket the character and then they just do one shadow like over
yeah.
it, right? So it's easier to animate, right?
Mhm.
And you can go a step above that, but it'll require a little bit more. But it's usually the simplicity and it's all about the character design
Yeah.
and, they try not to make it, like, extremely overcomplicated unless,
Mhm.
you're, like, a Japanese company or something like that. Like,
Yeah.
you have, like, 3 or 4 different shading,
Yeah.
different colors and stuff. But, so I do wanna bring up this, other Instagram account. I think this Instagram account is great is because it's the caricature artist. So, it
Okay.
is really awful, but it's fantastic.
I think I've follow is this wait, is this an Asian lady that does it?
Yeah, it's a lady,
Yes,
yeah.
I follow her. I
Yeah, caricature party. This person is diabolical.
and she
This
does almost
person
like these surrealism kind of pictures where they don't
yeah,
like they have these weird things in the background and they can
yeah.
only make sense to her.
Yeah, it's like okay, I'm gonna make the guy, like, his nose is really big, so I'm gonna make it extra big where his eyes aren't even attached to his face anymore, and his ears are really big, so I'm gonna make him look like Dumbo. So
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
it's awful.
Oh,
It's
no, this
just
is a different person. Okay, I
yeah,
follow another lady, is an Asian
yeah.
lady that does it,
There
and
is one that does
she's
yeah. There is
oh,
an Asian
man.
lady that does it too,
What is
but some
wrong
of
with
these are
her
bad.
nose?
Yeah, yeah, it's just I don't know why, but this is am
What is that? Oh my gosh. You
it's
cannot be soft. You cannot be a soft person when it comes to your age, your gender, your nationality, ethnicity, however you want to
mhm,
word that. Because, yeah, if you get a good caricature artist, they are merciless.
yeah.
They just see what they see. They see the world completely different than the rest of us. And they will amplify whatever it is that sticks out the most about you and do the dumbest thing to it. And you got to be ready because your feelings are about to get hurt.
Yeah. Yeah, but I love these.
They're
These
so
are
funny.
amazing. So,
Look at those
now
eyebrows.
now, I do wanna another question I do wanna ask is, how what prompted you to start, your YouTube journey?
Gosh. Everybody was doing it. And because this was like, oh my gosh, what was it like 7 years ago? I think now, everybody was doing it and it was kind of easy. This is still, was it seven or so years ago when, at least in the circles that I traveled in before I knew about circles on YouTube. Um, it was just like people it was like a hobby, right? Before it became too professional, like, everybody kinda had one and they were using it for stuff, and I'm trying to even remember what my life was looking like 7 years ago. I think I was also, I kinda had a boring job, and, it's one thing about creating artwork too is that even if you're not trying to show off, you still wanna show it. Right?
Mhm.
Excuse me. You wanna showcase it because it's like, "Look at what I made," it's like your mom putting the picture on the refrigerator. That's it. Basically what Instagram and Pinterest and YouTube have become. Like, "I made this, look," And so I've always, like I said before, really it all comes down to like storytelling. Like if you would go back and like you'll start no please don't go back and look at my earlier videos, but some of them I really put a lot of effort into it where I tried to make it a little bit more cinematic, very dramatic and kind of storytelling and all the cool fun angles, and I even had the rigs where the camera would like go slow with the timer and stuff like that. And I just thought it was a really cool way to like video editing and filming. I don't know. I love all of it. I love all of the creative process, and so being able to showcase my artwork while creating art, if you will, at the same time through video was just very appealing to me. In the beginning, I had no idea what to do with the channel. I think my first video was just like, oh, here's a basically a terrible drawing of Toothless with paper that was from Ross with my first Prismacolor pencils that I had gotten for Christmas. And I was just talking about what I did not know what to do with the channel. And eventually it was just like, just do what you do and my artwork, I'm not a professional artist by any means. I am self-taught, and it's basically been a journey of learning how to be all over the place to try to
Mhm.
get to where you wanna go.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And especially with the, internet being what it is now, it's like,
Yes.
you don't need to go to school. Like I have friends
Yeah.
who would ask me, it's like, "Hey, Phil, you went to college, right?" I'm like, "Yeah, for art." I'm like, "Yeah." And it's like, "Is it worth it?" I'm like, "Well, it really depends on what you wanna do, but
Mhm.
in my opinion, now, probably not." Um, like, you're unless you wanna get stuck with, like, a
It
$100,000, like,
yeah, it's
student loan or something like
it
that.
yeah, yeah, now more than ever, like, it has to be, like, if you wanna be a doctor, an accountant, yeah, definitely go or engineer, but if it's, like, outside the realm of getting a licensure, you don't really I wouldn't either, especially raking in all that debt, or at least be in a country that you don't have to rake in so much debt to get a degree.
Well, I mean, that's
Yeah.
I dropped out of college for artwork as well because one was that, yeah, I refused to go into debt. And so I was definitely, I went to college late, like 21,
Mhm.
late, you know, and because I just didn't know what to do with my life. It was like, do I follow the route of the artist or do I try to do something sensible, like become a nurse, like every third person I knew was doing? Um, and so I tried my hand at photography and all that kind of stuff. And it got, I wasn't, I wanted to try to make sure that I paid for college, but for myself, and I did for the most part. My parents just helped me very little bit, like when I was getting started, but it was like, I don't see the point. Every true artist, it's like, oh, I'll just make art and sell it. It'll be fine. It's fine.
Yeah.
And I did not want to go, but I never saw the sense of going to college to be in debt. That just never made any sense to me. And I'm very appreciative that my father was of the same mindset. We believe that education is very valuable and important, but it was like, kind of like what Grae is saying. It's like, I will say my one argument against the idea that you don't have to go to college for artwork is that learning the fundamentals would have been eh, so much more beneficial than just figuring it out on myself because I'm still having to look up YouTube tutorials, and granted they're free, but the problem with researching it for yourself is that you don't know where to start, right? I basically look up tutorials when I run into a problem versus having learned something already so I don't have to worry about it later. So that is my
Mhm.
only thing. I think that
Yeah.
it's good idea to maybe go to college for artwork, and I would suggest community college. I mean,
Yes.
why go to
Well,
university, which is what I did, but it's like go there and maybe take a year, of the
or yeah, I was
fundamentals.
gonna say maybe just a short course. You don't need to go through like a 4-year one where you have to rake in expensive tuition
And
just to
one
Yeah.
get
thing
started.
I
Yeah.
will appreciate about my photography teacher, I did have my own little photography business on the side for a while. I primarily focused on ironically, I focused on graphic design and photography in school, not drawing. I never took a single professional painting class. Um, was that he was honest with us and told us that we would need to learn how to schmooze, because a big part of selling artwork was really not artwork. It was more about who you know and who you can talk to and butter up into investing in what you. And
Yeah.
this is the thing that they don't teach you in art. Everybody will tell you, and I don't appreciate the fact that it's not a part of the curriculum, is that they don't tell you, and so many artists are misled this way. You need to learn business. You need to understand marketing. You need to understand taxes. You need to understand all of these things when it comes to artwork. Artwork, unfortunately, we can't just be these wonderful, savvy people with our cup of coffee and our berets, surrounded by our books and birds and raccoons or whatever, painting during a stormy night and whatever inspires us. And everybody's going to flock to it and just be like, oh, she's so mysterious. I wonder what she's painting. It doesn't work that way. You have to put so much work. I remember they brought a professional photographer in one time, and he was on. I appreciate it. He was honest. Of course, I was young and dumb. I'm like, no, I'll find a different way. I'll be okay. But he's like, I think he said 90% of his job, and he was an entrepreneur. He had his own photography business, professional car photographer. And he said 90% of what I do is not even photography. He's like, it's paperwork.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah,
just
it's
robs the joy of it. And so, especially when you're young and dumb, you're like, oh, I'll get around it. I'll figure out the system.
yeah.
And it's really sad that
Yeah.
maybe it's changed now. I hope that it has, because so many people have spoken out about it. But it does not make sense that business is not even the tiniest bit included in an art degree.
Yeah, it's a permeating. I don't think it's just a US problem. I think it's especially here in the Philippines. Like, it's like up to now we still do not have any financial literacy classes. I don't know if that's fixed now in like early years, but I never had it in my elementary, high school, even college. Like I took a business degree in college, but they never taught you really how to like properly manage your finances, like how to, establish that revenue chain. Never. It's like useless theories that you never really get to use in real life. So that's why I also think that college is not really useful. They're only very, very particular courses, like I said earlier, where you need
Yeah.
a license. That's when it becomes useful. But I think all around, regardless of your career path, you need to have some form of financial literacy
Yeah.
at some point. Because Philippines is like a third world country. I feel like there are a lot of poor people, yeah, for sure. But it's one factor is they lack the opportunities in education. But the other part is the people that do, they don't know how to manage their money properly. That's it. So so it's like it's really a big problem where people don't like, even the people who make a good salary, they they blow it all in like a week or two. So it's still for me it's a big problem.
Yeah.
So I definitely get that.
Yeah, like,
Yeah.
I remember so when I went to college, they they don't really tell you how to make a portfolio. All they said is just put all your best work,
Yeah.
whatever you think is your best work, and
Mhm.
just do it. Another thing is that they don't teach you, like you said, business side a
Yeah.
bit, like how to network with people, and it's
Mhm.
sort of like because like me working in the game industry, like and also the art industry, like for over like a decade now. It's it sucks. It's because you could be the best artist
Mhm.
at the studio, but if you
Yeah.
do not mesh well with the culture there, you will get let go.
Yeah. I was afraid of that because number 1, college. Secondly, well, artwork, liberals, whatever you want to say. Unfortunately, our breed of people tend to be on the flaky side. I don't know what it is. I think part of it has to do with artists being very intuitive. A lot of us are more thoughtful and aware, I should say, of like feelings and stuff. It's just you have to be, because you're trying to capture it in your marble, in your painting or whatever like that. You have to be more aware of how people function. So I wonder if that's part of it, because a lot of liberalism does have to do with being in tune with, or not in tune, but being aware of your feelings. So that was my concern going in, was how am I going to mesh with these people? Because everything
Mhm.
I've always heard is that artists are weird, flaky, effeminate. Weirdos. And I remember we had to do an art project. This was when my first class I ever took was a drawing class. And we had to, I don't remember. This is another problem. Like I know things, but I don't know the names and the terminology. We had to do a picture that expressed a thought without being too on the nose, right? You look at it and you kind of have to think, oh, this is what that represents. This was during the McCain-Palin presidential run.
Oh.
And I decided to do a dog with lipstick, and it had the stars with the Save Tibet rays in the background. So I try to make it look patriotic without being American flag, you know? And so it was the whole, because she ran Sarah Palin whenever they called, either she called herself, it was a while ago, man. She was either called herself or they were giving her the name if she was like a pit bull with lipstick or something like that. And so that's what I drew. I drew a dog and with lipstick and stuff. And my teacher came around. Loved my teacher. Okay. Amazing teacher. Hippie to the core. Like the epitome of being an art teacher. She came around though and she was like, you know, she's an idiot.
You're like, this is not the assignment. It's like I don't care about your politics. How do you think? What do you think about this?
Hey, I got an A, so I appreciate that. But still, it's like, you're just gonna put me on the spot. Like, I don't, you know, what do? You're young. You just do what you're feeling.
Yeah.
You just do it. It works. And actually, it's funny because that was around the time that I first got on Twitter. And it was so cool because, you know, you could actually tweet at celebrities and they might respond, right? You could actually have a one-on-one conversation with a celebrity. And I remember tweeting Sean Hannity of all people. And I said, I am going to college and I'm kind of scared about all of the liberals, something along these lines. He actually tweeted back at me and basically said, well, he said, you either man up and just stick it out, or you just give up and let the liberals win.
Thanks for checking out this segment from the Project Eggroll podcast. Make sure to catch us live every Saturday at 7 p.m. Also, be sure to subscribe, and we will see you all there.